My name is Jennifer Victor, and I'm 30 years old. If you'd walked into our apartment that Thursday night, you would have said the light was kind. The kind that forgives clutter and makes takeout look like plating. The kind that hides the tiniest crack in a glass until you tip it toward your mouth. Ethan loosened his tie like he was unhooking himself from the world's expectations. He did that when he wanted to look tired without admitting he was excited. He kissed my cheek, dropped his keys into the tray labeled keys, like a man who believes in labels, and said, "Long day, big weekend, seminar." "Men in leadership?" I asked. I kept my voice steady, casual, the way a diver pretends the water isn't cold. "Mm-hmm." He drummed his fingers on the counter. "Don't call me, okay? It's all networking. I'll be swamped." I smiled the way you do when a glass is already cracked and you're trying not to drink from that side. "Sounds important. Here's what you need to know about us. We split bills. We split chores. We split air. Ethan liked to say we were partners, not roles. I liked that about him. I liked it so much I forgave how his mother, Reverend Margaret Hale, looked at me like I'd borrowed her Bible and dog-eared the Beatitudes. Margaret runs an Episcopal congregation an hour outside the city. When we met, she shook my hand like a contract and said, "We're very traditional." I said, "I'm very honest." Both of us thought we were winning. The first crack came in year 3, disguised as professionalism. Ethan's friendly Slack threads with Sabrina, his ex-girlfriend turned coworker, read like a game of chicken with a yellow light. Nothing explicit, everything implied. When I confronted him, he said I was controlling. Then he said I was insecure. Then he said it was my tone. He was persuasive, and I didn't want to be the woman who policed tone. He apologized eventually, said it crossed a line, and we mapped fresh boundaries with words that felt grown-up and specific. I believed him. People grow, right? Back to Thursday. He texted me the hotel address for the seminar, which was odd because most conferences email you badges and schedules, not boutique hotel pins. The message sat in our thread like a dropped stitch. While he showered, I opened my laptop and typed without breathing. Men in Leadership Conference, plus our city, plus this weekend. Nothing. Not a flyer, not a hashtag, not a stray Eventbrite. The internet is a hoarder. When it's empty, it's never an accident. I told myself a story. Maybe this was an invite-only thing. Maybe it was small and serious. Maybe it was a donor's living room with leather chairs and single malt and men who said mentor like it had a second syllable only they could hear. I didn't call him that night. He asked me not to, and fairness is a habit you can't just set down. But I did call Tara, a friend who swims in Ethan's industry. "Hey, quick, do you know which hotel's hosting that leadership seminar this weekend?" Thinking of sending something to the concierge desk. Tara paused long enough for my stomach to find the floor. "What seminar?" "It's called Men in Leadership? Maybe it's bundled under a different title." "There's nothing like that in town, Jen. Not this weekend. I'd know." When we hung up, the room felt loud. The fridge hummed like it had a secret. I touched the edge of the counter, and the stone answered with cold, as if to say, "Don't faint, not yet." We have shared location turned on, safety thing from years ago. I don't check it. I'm not a warden. But the map was there, and the pin was blue, and my finger, well, it's amazing how often "I never do this" becomes "I did it this one time." The dot pulsed at the Sterling, the hotel with the rooftop bar, and the $22 martinis that taste like refunds. The Sterling is where influencers pretend to read hardcovers and realtors film victory reels at dusk. It is not a conference venue, not unless the keynote is "How to look like you belong here." I didn't cry. I didn't rage. Instead, my mind did that awful practical thing. It started planning. If I drove downtown, what would I do? Stare? Confront? Become the woman I don't want to be? The scene. I closed the map. I let the silence count to 10, then to 100. Friday came. Ethan sent a selfie from a generic carpeted hallway. He'd framed it to hide the art on the walls, as if the art might snitch. "Going dark for sessions," he wrote, and added a rocket emoji like ambition requires liftoff. Around noon, a message pinged my phone. "Mike, old friend, current bartender at the Sterling. You around, Jen? You coming to the event tonight?" "What event?" I typed, making tea with hands that looked like someone else's. "Speed dating. Whole rooftop reserved. Supposed to be packed. Figured you and Ethan might swing by. It's singles night." My heartbeat became an untrained drummer. I typed 3 times. I deleted 3 times. I sent a thumbs up because I could not trust my words. There's a part of me, maybe a part of everyone, that wants to be wrong. I wanted to show up, find name badges and stale coffee, watch a panel on leveraging soft skills, and go home embarrassed by my imagination. I wanted to apologize to the empty room in my chest for accusing it of being a void when it was just space. At 8:12 p.m., Mike texted again. Jen, hate to ask this, but is Ethan wearing a navy jacket with the tan shoes? Thought I recognized him. Then, before I could answer, a photo. Ethan, under strings of cafe lights, laughing the kind of laugh that doesn't include me. A line of tables, numbered placards, women rotating in 5-minute increments, practicing the art of possible. His left hand was visible, his ring wasn't. I felt the cold clarity people talk about when they mention shock. It doesn't feel like ice. It feels like air just left the room and your body learned how to breathe without permission. I didn't call him. I didn't call Margaret. I didn't even call Tara. I did what engineers do to bridges. I checked my bolts. I made a folder on my phone. I saved the photo. I labeled it with the date because time matters in stories like this. The universe, contrary to rumor, sometimes answers emails. Saturday, I cooked. Sunday, the local news ran a feature at 5:00 p.m. Singles are back. How speed dating is making a comeback. B-roll. The Sterling rooftop, golden and smug. And then, HD, no mercy. Ethan, smiling, leaning in, accepting a number he folded once, twice, like a secret he wanted small. The segment played twice. I recorded it the second time. My hands shook, not from grief, but from procedure. Clip, save. Title, Sterling segment 5 p.m. I thought of Margaret's handshake. I thought of her voice at the pulpit talking about vows the way surgeons talk about arteries. I did not think about revenge. I thought about truth and audience. I sent the footage to Reverend Margaret Hale with 12 words. Thought you should see Ethan's seminar. I deserve honesty. He needs help. I put my phone face down on the table and watched the wood grain like it might offer counsel. In the other room, a shirt of his hung from the bedroom door, sleeve lifted as if to say goodbye. At 6:00 a.m. Monday, Margaret's voice arrived, through Ethan's phone, too loud to ignore even across the apartment. I couldn't hear the words, just the organs behind them, grief, anger, disappointment, arranged in a chord I wouldn't forget. The bathroom door clicked, water ran. Ethan sat there for an hour under the sound, as if a shower could baptize a lie into something presentable. When he emerged, his eyes were pink with explanation. You had no right to involve my mother, he said. Quiet the way a fuse is quiet. You had no right to lie, I said, and even I believe my voice. You had no right to ask me to be blind. It's not what it looked like, he tried. The old choreography. Wedding planning, pressure, one night. Ethan, I said, don't make me argue with film. He stared at me like I'd changed shape. Maybe I had. In the mirror behind him, I saw a version of myself I'd been avoiding. Not the cool girl, not the patient partner, not the woman who inventories her tone before she inventories the facts, just a person who knows what she saw and how much it cost. I told him what would happen next. The apartment is mine. It was mine before us, and will be mine after this. He has until Friday to move out. After that, the locks change. I said it calmly, like weather. He said things, tears, anger, touch, memory, pleading. None of it altered gravity. He called his mother that night expecting sanctuary. He got scripture, not the pretty kind, the kind that names. When he hung up, he looked smaller. After he slept on the couch, I opened a box and began with his cufflinks. Small things are easiest. You don't hear them hit the cardboard. You don't have to admit a sound is an ending to believe one is. People ask later where the turning point was. I think it's here. Not the text, not the rooftop, not even the news. It's the moment you make a list and begin. A list is a door disguised as paper. Friday was 4 days away. 4 days is forever. 4 days is a blink. And between those two measures, there is a woman at a kitchen table, labeling a folder on her phone and learning how to say enough without raising her voice. By the following Tuesday, the apartment looked like a scene from a polite disaster. Boxes lined the hallway, labeled neatly, as if good handwriting could civilize heartbreak. His shoes were still by the door, their laces curled like question marks. I'd started packing the night before he even asked if he should. There's a kind of mercy in efficiency. Ethan hovered near the living room, watching me fold his life into cardboard. "You're really doing this?" His voice cracked on really, as if reality had betrayed him first. "I am," I said. "I made one mistake, Jen. You're not even giving me a chance to fix it?" I looked at him. "You didn't make a mistake, Ethan. You made a choice, and then you lied about it." He swallowed hard, pacing between boxes. "You blindsided me. Sending that to my mom? That was cruel." "Cruel," I repeated. "Like pretending a speed dating event was a seminar. Like taking off your ring and calling it networking?" He opened his mouth, closed it again. The silence that followed wasn't awkward. It was proof. That night, after he fell asleep on the couch, I sat alone in the kitchen. The hum of the fridge filled the space he used to occupy with laughter. I replayed the news clip once more, this time not to hurt myself, but to anchor myself. He'd smiled at strangers like he used to smile at me. Only this time there was nothing behind it. No history, just performance. The next morning, Reverend Margaret Hale called. Her voice carried that soft authority unique to people who have delivered both weddings and funerals. "Jennifer," she said, "I saw the footage." I waited for her to defend him, but she didn't. "He's lost himself," she said instead. "You did what I should have done years ago, held him accountable." For a moment, I almost pitied Ethan. Almost. By Thursday, he was quieter. No grand speeches, no tears left to weaponize. He moved around the apartment like he was visiting a museum, touching nothing, memorizing everything. When Friday came, I stood by the door as he carried out the last box. The sunlight hit his face, made him look smaller. "You really won't even talk to me?" he asked. "I have," I said. "You just kept talking louder." He paused, defeated. "You didn't have to destroy my reputation to make your point." "Your actions did that," I said simply. "I just stopped protecting you from the reflection." He left without another word. The door clicked shut with a finality that no apology could reopen. For the first time in months, the air felt clean. Not happy, just breathable. But peace has its own echoes. 3 nights later, I got a voicemail from an unknown number. His voice was slurred, half rage, half grief. "You ruined everything, Jen. My mom, my job, everyone's turned on me. Over one stupid weekend. You think you're better than me? You're just cold. You'll die alone." I listened once, then again, then I saved it. Not as revenge, but as a boundary. I titled the file "Proof That I'm Not Crazy." Because for years, he made me second-guess my instincts. Every argument ended the same way, with me apologizing for being right too soon. That night, I poured myself a glass of wine and stepped out onto the balcony. The city glowed, indifferent and alive. I could see the Sterling Hotel in the distance, its rooftop lights winking like a secret that thought it was safe. I whispered to no one. "You almost convinced me I imagined it." Then I turned off my phone and deleted the location tracker we once shared. By the end of the month, I had repainted the living room, replaced his armchair, and moved my desk near the window. The morning light hit differently now, honest, unfiltered. One afternoon, my friend Tara stopped by with coffee. "So," she said, glancing around, "what's next?" I smiled, a real one, small but steady. "Learning to live without evidence." She laughed, and for the first time in a long time, the sound felt like mine. That night, I stood by the window again. The city's heartbeat pulsed below. Somewhere out there, Ethan was telling his version of the story. But for the first time, I didn't care how he told it. Because the truth doesn't need defending when you finally stop explaining it to liars. Some people say heartbreak sounds like silence. They're wrong. It sounds like a phone that won't stop ringing. 3 days after Ethan left, Reverend Margaret Hale began leaving voicemails, not for him, but for me. Each one shorter than the last, as if every call drained another ounce of faith. The third one was just a sigh, and then, "He's lost his way, Jennifer. I'm praying he learns the meaning of truth the hard way." It wasn't spiteful. It was exhausted, like a mother confessing to God that love has limits. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. Ethan was already learning in stereo. Word spread fast. Our mutual friends, his coworkers, even the bar staff at the Sterling. The story grew legs. By the weekend, the office gossip channels were whispering about the priest's son caught cheating at a singles event. Someone leaked the news segment clip into their Slack. HR got involved. Both Ethan and Sabrina, his ex-turned-coworker, were formally reprimanded for conduct unbecoming. That phrase, unbecoming, haunted him more than guilt ever could. Tara texted me screenshots from a private group chat. He's saying Jennifer ruined his career, that she's vindictive. Don't worry, nobody's buying it. The video's public. I didn't reply. I didn't gloat. I just muted the conversation and closed my laptop. That night, my apartment felt too still. It's strange how even when you're right, being right can still feel lonely. I opened the balcony door, and the city hummed below like a quiet audience. The Sterling's rooftop twinkled in the distance, perfectly oblivious. I wondered if another networking event was happening there. I hoped the lighting was unflattering. Later that week, Ethan tried again. Another voicemail. This one softer, almost rehearsed. I just wanted to say sorry. I panicked. I shouldn't have lied. Can we talk? He didn't sound sorry. He sounded bored of being punished. I didn't call back. The following Sunday, his mother called again. I almost didn't pick up, but something in me wanted to hear her tone. Jennifer, she said gently, you were right to trust your instincts. My son's facing himself now. It's difficult to watch. I heard a quiet inhale. I hope you can forgive him someday, if only so you can forget him. Forgiveness, I said softly, isn't the problem. Remembering without pain is. There was a long pause, then she whispered, that's wisdom most people never earn. After that call, I slept for 10 hours straight, the kind of sleep that feels like permission. 2 weeks later, I sold the apartment. It wasn't impulsive, it was survival. Every corner had a ghost of something half-truthful. The hallway still smelled like his cologne. The mirror in the entryway still caught my reflection with a look that asked, why didn't you leave sooner? So I did. My new place was smaller, downtown, with big windows and ugly floors I loved immediately. The noise from the street below drowned out my thoughts. I painted one wall pale gold, the color of second chances. For the first time in a long time, I bought flowers for myself. Not roses, daisies, the kind that don't need much to bloom. One evening, as I was unpacking, Tara came over with takeout. She dropped the box on my counter and said, you look peaceful. I think I am, I said. It's weird. She raised an eyebrow. Weird's good. Peace is overrated anyway. We laughed. The kind of laugh that doesn't echo. It lands softly, like it knows where it belongs. Later that night, alone again, I scrolled through my phone. The reminders folder was still there. Voicemail, video, texts, receipts of a life I'd outgrown. My thumb hovered over delete. But I didn't press it. Not yet. Some wounds deserve a witness. The city lights flickered across the glass, reflected like tiny halos. Somewhere out there, Ethan was probably telling his side of the story, reshaping the truth until it fit better in his mouth. And somewhere even further, his mother was praying for him. I didn't join her, but I did whisper a quiet amen for myself. When lies unravel, they never do it neatly. They don't fall apart in a single thread. They collapse like a spider's web after a storm, sticky and tangled in every direction. It was a Monday morning when Tara called, breathless with news. You're not going to believe this, she said. Remember Sabrina? The ex from Ethan's office? I set my coffee down slowly. The one who organized the speed dating event? She's the one, Tara confirmed. Turns out she wasn't just organizing those mixers. She was using them, regularly. Guess who she was bringing along? I didn't need to guess. The name arrived before she said it. Ethan. Yep, HR found out because her ex-boyfriend now, saw the footage from that local news clip. Apparently, they were both seeing other people while pretending to be mentoring new hires. I closed my eyes. There it was. The truth, crawling out of the cracks like sunlight through dust. Not a one-time lapse, a pattern, a partnership in deceit. He always said he hated gossip, I murmured. Tara snorted. Yeah, guess it's only bad when it's about him. After we hung up, I sat in silence. Not the kind that hurts, the kind that hums with confirmation. Sometimes closure doesn't arrive with tears or apologies. It comes disguised as someone else's scandal. 2 days later, I got another unexpected message. This time from a private number. It was Ethan's sister, Claire. Hi, Jen. I know we've never really spoken, but I just wanted to say I'm sorry for everything. My brother's been lying to everyone, even our mom. She thought you were exaggerating. Then she saw the internal memo from his company. Her tone cracked a little. He's been telling people you were controlling, that you drove him away. I didn't believe it. Not after watching the footage. I just wanted you to know someone in his family believes you. I thanked her, softly. We talked for 5 minutes. When the call ended, I cried for the first time since everything began. Not for Ethan. For the years I'd spent explaining myself to people who only heard what they wanted. That night, I went through the last box I hadn't unpacked since the move. Inside was a photo frame. Us, on our 3rd anniversary, laughing under cheap restaurant lights. I studied it like evidence from a case that had already been solved. Then, for the first time, I didn't feel anger, just distance, like watching two strangers pretend to be in love for the camera. The next morning, my phone buzzed again. A voicemail from Ethan. I almost didn't play it, but curiosity is a slow poison. Jen, I don't know what to say anymore. Everything's falling apart. HR suspended me. Mom won't talk to me. You win, okay? You got what you wanted. I hope you're happy. His voice cracked on happy. It was almost pitiful. Almost. I deleted it before he finished speaking. That night, I opened my windows wide. The city air carried music from a nearby bar, someone singing out of tune and not caring. I smiled. That used to bother me. Now it sounded like freedom. A week later, Reverend Margaret called again. Her tone was lighter this time. He's finally going to therapy, she said. Not for me, for himself. That's good, I said. He needs help. There was a pause. Then she added, You know, I used to think you were too pragmatic, too modern. But I was wrong. You're the most honest woman my son ever knew. It was the closest thing to a blessing I'd ever received from her. After we hung up, I stared out the window at the skyline. The Sterling's rooftop lights glowed faintly in the distance, still beautiful, still tainted. I whispered to the city, let someone else fall for the view. Then I poured myself a glass of wine and pressed play on a playlist I hadn't touched in months. Each song used to remind me of him. But as I listened, they started to sound different, lighter, rewritten. It struck me then, I didn't just lose Ethan, I lost the version of myself that thought love was supposed to hurt before it healed. And in that loss, I found something better. Peace wasn't loud or triumphant. It was quiet, like the first deep breath after surviving a storm. A year passes quietly when you stop rehearsing pain. If you'd walked into my life now, you might not even recognize the woman from that rooftop story. My hair's shorter, my apartment smaller, my world simpler. The air feels like mine again. I'd like to tell you everything healed overnight, but truth moves slower than that. Some days still hum with ghosts, like when I pass the old wine bar where we used to celebrate little victories, or when the news anchor's voices echo through my living room at 5 p.m., and I half expect to see his face in the background again. But mostly it's peace, earned, not borrowed. I started freelancing full-time, design consulting for local businesses. One of my new clients turned out to be the very news station that aired Ethan's scandal. The irony wasn't lost on me. Life has a strange sense of humor. Sometimes it pays you to revisit the place where everything broke. That's where I met Daniel. He wasn't charming the way Ethan was. He didn't need to be. He was steady, quiet, the kind of man who didn't perform goodness. He just lived it. We met over a branding pitch that went sideways and ended up talking for 3 hours about everything but work. By the third coffee, I realized something rare. I wasn't scared. Not of liking him, not of losing him, not of being seen. We've been taking it slow. No rushing toward vows, no promises carved in urgency. Just two people who understand the weight of silence and still choose to stay. Then, one spring afternoon, the past decided to knock again. It was at a networking event downtown, a real one this time. Name tags, hors d'oeuvres, soft jazz. I was there with Daniel when I saw him. Ethan. He looked thinner, softer around the eyes. The arrogance was gone, replaced by something that looked like regret. He froze when he saw me, then offered a small nod. I thought that would be the end of it, but an hour later, when Daniel stepped away to take a call, Ethan approached. Jen, he said quietly. Just a minute? I hesitated, then nodded. Closure wears many disguises. Sometimes it's curiosity dressed as forgiveness. He took a deep breath. I don't expect anything. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. Not the performative kind. The real kind. I didn't speak. He continued. I'm in therapy now. Mom said it was the only way I'd stop repeating the same patterns. She was right. I hurt you, and I lied about it. For a long time, I convinced myself you were cruel for exposing me. But you were just done protecting me from the truth. He handed me an envelope. This is half the cost of the engagement ring. It's not about money. It's about making things right. Before I could respond, he added, I hope you're happy, Jen. You deserve to be. Then he walked away. Inside the envelope was a check and a note. This doesn't fix anything, but it's a start. Thank you for holding up a mirror when I refused to see. I didn't cry, I didn't laugh, I just felt finished. Later that night, I told Daniel. He listened, no jealousy, no judgment. He just said, "Sounds like he finally learned something." Maybe, I said, but so did I. A week later, Reverend Margaret Hale called one last time. She'd retired from the church, moved closer to her daughter. Her voice was softer now, freed from sermons. "Ethan's doing better," she said. "He met someone, a widow with 2 kids. I think he's finally ready to be the man he pretended to be before." "I'm glad," I said, and meant it. Margaret hesitated. "And you? Are you happy?" I smiled, watching Daniel water the small plants on my balcony, the city lights painting his face in gold. "I'm peaceful. That's better." She laughed quietly. Peace is the rarest kind of happiness. After we hung up, I went to my phone and found the old reminders folder, the voicemail, the video, the photos. I selected them all. Delete. Gone. Daniel looked up. "What are you smiling about?" "Just letting something go," I said. He crossed the room and wrapped his arms around me. The city outside kept breathing, unbothered by our small miracle. If there's one thing in this whole story taught me, it's this. It's not your job to teach someone integrity. Either they have it or they don't. And when you finally stop trying to fix broken mirrors, you realize you were never the reflection. You were the light.